Hi everyone, welcome to DT's Premiere where technical drawing is made simple. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to support the channel and help reach more students. Let's begin. Now that you know how to construct 60-degree base angle and bisect it to get a 30-degree angle, as well as the opposite of 60, which is 120, and how to get the opposite of 30, I believe you can now challenge yourself and try to get a 15-degree angle and the opposite of the 15-degree angle. All right, so let us look at where those are located. And you're going to attempt that on your own because I won't be demonstrating that. All right, so the projector shows 0 degrees, right? Then 10 degrees. However, it does not directly tell us what the midpoint of 0 and 10 is, but we can see a stroke, right, that is longer than the smaller ones in the middle of 0 and 10. And that tells me that that stroke is actually 5 degrees. All right, so let's count it and check. So the first tiny stroke is 1, second one is 2, 3, 4, and the mid one 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now that I know that it has 5 in the middle, I can say now we go from 0 degrees to 5 degrees, then from 10 degrees to 15 degree, which is in the middle, 20 to 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. I think you get the gist. So now where does 15 degree land? 15 degree lands between 0 and 30 degree, right? Because remember, when you bisect an angle, right, which is if we bisect a 30-degree angle, we'll get the midpoint of 30, which is 15. Now that we know that we need to bisect our 30 degree to get a 15-degree angle, we can now say we actually know where that point is going to land and what the opposite is. Before I get into what the opposite is, let's reason it out. In order to get our 15-degree angle, we need to first construct the base angle that we know how to construct, which is our 60-degree angle. So we'll get our 60-degree first, then we bisect it to get our 30-degree, and then we bisect the 0 and the 30 to get our 15-degree. Easy peasy? All right. Now that we know that's how we do it, in order to understand what the opposite is, we need to understand what each of these represent. So look now, the opposite of 0 is 180. The opposite of 10 is 170. The opposite of 20 is 160. So while on the first set of measurements, we are climbing up from a small number to a greater number, for the opposite, we're climbing down from a greater number to a smaller number. So 0 opposite 180, 10 opposite 170, and we went down by 10. 20 opposite 160. But what is in between? So what is in between 180 and 170 is going to be lesser than 180 but greater than 170. And if we're going down by 5, right, we would know that this is going to be 175. So 170, 175, 180. Do you get it? Good. Now between 170 and 160 is where we also have our 15 degree, because between 10 and 20 is 15. All right. So in the middle of this, 15 degrees. Now to find out what the opposite of 15 degree is, we need to now know what is in the middle of 160 and 170. So remember, it's going to be greater than 160 but less than 170. 165. All right. So this is how I want you to understand how to use your protractor and how to actually reason out what the opposites are. So when you're doing it, you can draw it on your own. So to get that 165, it's the same thing you're going to do to get your 15 degree on the opposite side. So you construct the opposite of 60 first, base angle 120. Bisect your 120 to get the opposite of 30 degree, which is 150. Then you bisect your 150, which is the opposite of the 15-degree angle. After you bisect 180 and 150, that's how you get your 165. Now that you know this, take a moment and you're going to go and try and figure it out. Pause this video, go and try to figure it out, and then come back and I'll demonstrate for you. All right, so now that you have attempted your 15-degree, let's see how it actually looks. So we're going to first draw our line, whatever length you are given, that's what you're going to use. I'm going to use 50. I'm going to label this 0, 180. I'm going to place my vertex on the line. Going to get my compass, make it a convenient radius, not too big, not too small. Grab a semicircle. I'm going to take, right, going to label A, B, and the first thing we want to get is our 60 degree. All right, so we're getting our 60 degree, then bisecting it to get our 30 degree, then bisecting to get our 15 degrees. Then now you're going to draw your line through, and this is going to be 60. Now remember, the question does not ask for 60 degrees, so we're not going to darken. All right, let's now bisect this 60 by using point B, where the semicircle is in our zero line. Let's open this a bit. Scribe, and remember we're scribing in the middle because that's where our angle will be. And the second point is going to be where the 60 degrees intersecting the circle. Point 1, point 2. I hope you are following. All right. And then we're going to draw our line through. Remember, you're using your ruler and your pencil. This is going to be 30 degrees because this is actually half of 60 degree. Now we want 15 degrees, so we won't be outlining or darkening 30. Get your compass. 2 points you're going to use now are going to be the points on your zero line. All right, and in the middle of 0 and 30, that's what we want. And the point where your 30-degree line is intersecting or cutting this circle. So point 1 is B, where it's cutting the zero line, semicircle is cutting the zero line, and point 2 is going to be where your 30 degree is cut. Do you get the pattern? I hope. Then now you draw your line through it. And this is going to be your 15 degree. So now the question asks for 15 degree. You need to darken your 15 degree. Remember, we're darkening from 0 to the vertex, all right? And then from the vertex to your 15, because that's what the question asks for. Now, if we want the opposite of this, we're going to do the same exact thing, but on the opposite side. Just imagine yourself looking in a mirror, and in that mirror, everything is reflected on the other side. All right? So let's go again. First things first, we need to draw our line. 5 centimeter line. If the question asks you for 50, 120, that's what you use. Label 180 and 0 degrees. Place your vertex on the line. Then Draw your semicircle. Remember, take your time. Your time. You're in no rush. All right. Until you can master this, there's no need for you to rush. All right. A, B. Now we did everything on the right side to get our acute angles, which are smaller than 9. But we want our obtuse angles, which are the opposite of these. So we're going to do it on the opposite side at A. All right. So now keeping the same radius, which is how we get our perfect 120 at all times. Same radius as the semicircle is the same radius I used to cut this. Cut the semicircle. Wherever you cut the semicircle, this is going to be 120 degree. All right. And that is the opposite of 6. Now we want 150 and then, which is the opposite of 30, and 165, which is the opposite of 50. So we first need to bisect. Open this a little bit more. Bisect or remember 180, where it's the semicircle is cutting the line at 180. And where the semicircle is cutting the line at 120. After you get that intersection, you're going to draw your line, and this is now going to be 150. All right. I want you to look carefully. It's the opposite. All right. Then now we need the middle of these two, which is the opposite for this. All right. So we're going to use the point where the semicircle is cut for 180. And the point where our semicircle is cutting at 150. I'm going too fast. Slow down the video. All right. Then you draw your line through the intersection right here. And this is 165 degrees. This is what the question asks for. So you're going to outline now. Remember, we don't outline this side. It's going to be from 0 always to the vertex first, and then from the vertex to the angle that they asked for, which is 5. Because the direction of your angle is going this way and this way. So from here all the way to here, from here all the way to here. That is it for this video. I hope you have learned something. I hope you have practiced, and keep doing well. You got this. Take your time. Practice, practice, practice. Have a good one.